always just tell people you just gotta like soak it up. Hi guys, I'm Jack Payne, and this is the Friday Sponge, where I sit down with founders, operators, and leaders to talk about the part of the story nobody tells. The decisions, the risks, the lessons from long before success was obvious. Real stories, real business. Let's get into it. Well, so I guess I'll kick us off. So welcome to the Friday Sponge. I have my guest here, Somya Gupta, founder and CTO of Context. Somya is not only just working on Context, but he's actually grown beyond that at this point to make NYC the powerhouse of the startup community. So I'm glad that we could get some time here. So thank you, Somya. Thank you. Now,
Thank you
when
so
we
much.
first met, I think what really drew me to your account and was really just your mission. Not only your mission as a founder and trying to build your own companies, but also trying to unite founders collectively. And that's really what's inspired me, because I think that if you can find yourself in those circles, you're hearing and having a lot of these really cool conversations that you wouldn't have anywhere else. It's people who are like-minded, people who want to build, people who are excited about the future, which I think is really powerful, especially right now because people are pretty pessimistic about the future, right?
Yeah.
But before we get into maybe some specifics about your story and maybe where you got to today, let's just start with, where am I calling you from today? Where is Somya Gupta in the world right now?
Brooklyn, baby. The best borough in New York City.
Brooklyn, baby. Okay, nice. Where are you, in Williamsburg, or are you a little bit deeper?
I'm deeper. I live in Sunset Park. It's near Park Slope. Yeah, it's a nice neighborhood, right close to this train station. It's fun. It has great food, a lot of Mexican food here. So if you like
Oh,
Mexican food, yeah, this is the neighborhood to
love
be in.
Mexican food. It's my favorite.
Yeah,
I could have it every day of the week.
I know, right? Yeah, can't say good to no taco, good tacos.
Yeah. So you're calling from Brooklyn. I know when we first chatted, you mentioned that you didn't grow up in the States. So you're originally from India, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Originally from India, made the leap to NYU for your master's. And I mean, that's such a big change. What was that transition like for you? How has New York changed maybe what you think is possible, or just tell me about what the American experience has been like so far?
For me, honestly, I think it's the best decision I made in my life. If someone asks me 20 years down the line, what's the single best decision you made? I think for me it was just moving to New York, man. It changed me like completely. Like I'm a totally different person versus what I was like back in India and what I was like even on day one when I moved here. And mostly it's been just mindset, right? Kind of people I started surrounding myself and started meeting. I think that's just changed everything. Yeah, I when I came here, my intention was just go to college, get a job, and live your normal life and live that comfortable life. But the moment I started surrounding myself around cool people, founders who are like taking these risks, building something cool, I was like, shit, I want to do this. So I just dove right in. I was like, and I think that's the energy of the city. It's like they don't care what you did up until this point. It's like, what can you do now and what can you do in the future? I think that's in the heart of New York and in US in general. And I feel that's why it's the greatest country in the world to move. Like, tell me, like, which other country lets you, move here from anywhere and just like build your dream life. Yes, there are 101 different problems going on with this country, but it still is the greatest country to learn, grow, and like be the best version of yourself. Because money, fame, and the people, everyone, and everything is right here.
And for a lot of us, I grew up in the States, right? I grew up here in
Hmm.
New Jersey. I think a lot of
Yeah,
us take that for granted. Can you maybe
yeah,
just, it's not to knock your home country because obviously you loved it there. You have your family and friends still there, but
yeah.
can you maybe just explain to those who haven't, started their lives not in the US, right? Like, can you explain to people in the US what's so different about trying to start something here versus maybe trying to start something elsewhere, like India?
I feel the biggest difference is people don't care if you fail. I love that, right? People care if you try. Like, hey, did you try? Cool, fine. Did you fail? It's all right. Try again, right? And I think that's the single greatest thing about this city and the country, which we don't find anywhere else. And like India, like failure is kind of looked down upon. It's like you have to succeed, or you have to follow the path that's given. Like taking risk or trying to do something different is kind of like, oh, what is this? What are you doing? Are you stupid? So, and although that
There's
culture is
plenty of that
changing,
here.
it definitely is. And but yeah, I think there's still the room to do it. And the mindset, right? I just felt like the biggest difference is not the talent. Like, there's so many talented people back in India and every other part of the world, but it's just here the mindset, that, we can do it. Like, and this people here in America, and the mindset is like, they're so delusional, and that's why I love it, because that delusion just helps them do things that's like unthinkable, right? And they end up reaching places that if they were thinking too practically, they would never reach. I've learned, I already was a very delusional person, and moving here just made me more delusional in a good way. And that's why, I was like, oh, I can start my own company even if I'm on a visa. Oh, I want to make New York the biggest startup ecosystem in the world. People, even my roommate is something like, dude, are you stupid? But that's what this country like lets you do. Like they allow you to be delusional. They allow you to be borderline stupid. But if you fail, it's fine. You try again, and if you succeed, you're gonna be the king of the world.
Yeah, I think what I've heard from a lot of founders, and I've just experienced it firsthand, which is that failure only defines you if you let it define you. And a lot of times it's like that's the essential key. Those are the tools that you need to actually enable you to make the next leap, right? Like failure doesn't define you for life. If anything, it just provides you with the essential skills and lessons that you need to then do better the next time. And then you get the opportunity to have that next time.
Exactly, that's so true. And I think like the results of failure is something you don't realize immediately, but in future you realize, oh, that happened for a reason. And I don't know who told me this, but they say there's a good saying that everything happens for a reason, and you'll only realize when you look back and you're like, oh, that happened for this, and you connect the dots in reverse. That's so true. And failure is important, man. If you're not trying and if you're not failing, then what are you even doing? And where's the fun?
So you came to NYU, right? We already established that. Now you came to NYU not for just anything. You came for a CS master's. And within months, you didn't just decide, okay, I need good grades. You decided I'm going to co-found a company. Can you maybe walk me through that process? How did Context come to life?
Right. So it's so funny because during my first semester, I was doing what every typical college kid would do: go to classes, or mostly skip classes, party, have fun, go out with friends, just go to exams, like somehow make sure and pray to God that you pass. And I was just doing all that. And then during my second semester, this was early 2024, it started hitting me that, wait, I'm in the best city in the world. It has the greatest density and diversity of people and industries. And all I'm doing is just going to college and having fun. No, I'm not making use of the city because I started thinking that, listen, I'm privileged enough to even come to New York. Like, it's a city of 8 million out of 8 billion people that are there. So only 1% of people in their lifetimes get a chance to come to the city. So I can't be wasting that. So I then started going to events, a lot of startup and founder events, because always in the back of my mind, I thought, I want to be an entrepreneur. So once I started doing that and started meeting other founders, that energy of, building, taking risks, that kind of rubbed off on me. And, the saying that you are the average of 5 people you surround yourself with, that's when I realized that's so true. And the moment I started surrounding myself around these like founders hustling, I also started exploring ideas, and I was like, all right, I want to build something. So I was out there trying different ideas. Nothing was really sticking. But then at an event at NYU, I actually met my co-founder. So it was his idea. Context was his idea, and he was pitching it. And I was like, wait, I like this idea. He's trying to personalize education with AI. A little borderline crazy, but I like it. Then I just, went up to him, spoke to him, and we got in touch. And I shot him an email. I got his email, so I shot him an email, I think, the very next day. And I was like, hey, listen, I like what you're working on. I would like to work on this together. So we worked on it for a month just to see, how well we work, do our mission and vision align. And then a month later, we realized, hey, we love working with each other. We also ended up getting into an accelerator program at our college in NYU. And that was kind of like a sign to just go all in. June of 2024, we kind of like got together and went all in, joined the accelerator, and that's where the journey of Context started.
It's amazing. I loved, so for me, I think I shared with you that I was trying to do something similar just with financial literacy. I've been going around, I've been trying to teach students about how they can empower themselves just with the basics of personal finance, right?
Yeah.
Because you can get caught up, you can get lost in the weeds in so many different levels when it comes to education. Now, when you think about AI powered learning in this platform that you were creating, where you're, if I remember correctly, you were trying to deliver hyper personalized educational experiences, right? Can you talk me through really what the problem is that you were trying to solve, and why was this something that you were passionate
Right. For me, I think two things. Firstly, I actually don't have a CS background, so I'm a self-taught coder. So, because my undergrad, I did it in electronics and communications, not in CS. So I kind of taught myself how to code by looking through YouTube tutorials, just trying to build projects on the side, by going through your typical Coursera and Udemy courses. So I saw like how wonderful the space of education is because there are so many resources out there, and anyone can potentially teach themselves anything. Like tomorrow you can sit and teach yourself coding or philosophy or anything. So the resources and the knowledge is out there through books, through videos, and every other medium. But I realized that it's just so hard to find those resources firstly, and secondly it's just so hard to understand, like let's say there's a course online, because it's not meant for you, because you have a different way of learning. Maybe you like learning a learning platform which is more visual, or you like learning through just solving a problem or building a project. So everyone has their own style of learning and own pace of learning, which the classrooms and these online courses don't take care of. So my co-founder and I, that's what we thought, that learning should be personalized, not just in terms of the content, but the way it is taught, right? And at the pace at which the students wants to take, because nobody's a bad learner. It's just they have their own way of learning, they have their own pace of learning. And that's why when I heard my co-founder, when he was pitching, and this entire idea of personalizing learning with the help of AI, that really struck with me, because I taught myself how to code and I struggled so much. It's not like I was able to pick it up on day one. So I had to scramble through. So that idea of being taught in a way that you can understand, and it suits your learning goals, needs, and preferences, that was wonderful. And secondly, during my undergrad, I used to teach school and college kids, because I used to organize a lot of workshops. So I used to teach them like IoT, Arduino, and all these other different technologies and electronics. And so again, understood how hard it is for one teacher to teach to every student or cater to every student. Although the teacher has good amount of knowledge and understanding of the subject matter, they just cannot personalize learning at scale. And that's where AI can solve both the problem of personalized learning and do it at scale. And that's why this idea really struck with me, and I was like, I want to work on it. And another thing is, education has just been the same for like 100 years. I feel like it's just so ancient. I feel like universities and the education system, I feel there's a change needed. And I hope with this technology, I see the potential. It's hard to make the change happen because the institutions are so old, so it's just hard to get them moving. But I feel like in the next 10 years, education will completely be changed.
I agree. I think that with these institutions, regardless of whether it's an actual institution, it's a company, if it's been around for a long time, change is like if it was a cruise ship trying to turn in the Hudson, it's going to take a
Yeah,
long time,
exactly.
right? So maybe something that we can all start to do is try and help these institutions. But I think one of the hardest things you got to do is really get your message across. So obviously your co-founder, when you met him, he got his message was loud and clear. It was one that you fell in love with, right? I feel like that's half the battle. Then the other half of the battle is really implementation. Can you maybe
Yeah.
walk me through some of those early days of what it was like to implement, and then even go to these institutions and try and pitch them on this story and show them a product that actually worked?
Right. So actually, we started as B2C, not B2B. So we were trying to sell to like online learners like myself and everyone else, like people who would go to YouTube or Coursera or Udemy. We were trying to solve a problem for them, because we it was kind of a personal problem too. So we were trying to build for them, and we did a lot of customer interviews, just talking to college kids. Like we used to go to our college library and just talk to the students and just try to understand their struggles with learning, how they're try to learn a particular topic, or how do they learn online. And I kid you not, we also used to go to Washington Square Park and try to talk to students and even people, which I don't recommend if you're trying to build an education company. Don't do your customer interviews in Washington Square Park. You'll meet all kinds of weirdos, but it was a fun experience. But through these customer interviews, we started understanding, okay, how are people looking for online help? How they learn, what are their patterns? Do they look for video courses, or do they just look through like text or documentation? Or ChatGPT already became a thing, so how they were even using AI if they were already to help with their learning. And then through that understanding, and then we built out the MVP, and our B2C version, which we refined after we built out our MVP and tested, grew to 3,500 users within 4 months. So that was a big win for us, and we realized that, okay, we're doing something right. But one thing that we were not able to crack was monetization, because one of the biggest problems with us building versus courses on Coursera or Udemy was that Coursera and Udemy have the credibility because they have some of the top professors or universities in the world taking courses, so people are willing to pay for that. We were just a bunch of broke college kids trying to sell online learning through AI. So we realized that although the tool is cool, it's not going to work unless we have credibility. So when we were thinking about our next steps, a few professors reached out to us because we were building in public. So I would post about it on LinkedIn. And so a few professors reached out and they were like, hey, we like what you're building. Build something for us where we can create the course since we have the knowledge materials. And then our students can get that personalized learning experience that you're trying to take the students through. So we thought, hey, customers are coming to us with their problems. That's the best thing an early stage startup we can ask for. So we made the pivot. We pivoted to B2B, where we started building by keeping the professor in mind, and we built this AI-powered learning platform where professors can upload their materials, and then each student who enrolls, since we have data on them, we can personalize learning for them. So how we were trying to sell to universities or convincing professors was, listen, you have all the knowledge. Your teachings are great. It's just that it's too much for you to personalize to every learner. You have 50, 100 students. So for you to manage or teaching them in a personalized manner, going through or giving them assignments, grading those assignments, all of this is such a big task. It's just humanly impossible to do it at scale. And so our tool will enhance your learning. And that was our pitch. We told them that we are not trying to replace professors, because a lot of these online learning AI tools were trying to do that, trying to message themselves or put themselves out there as someone who's trying to replace professors. But we are giving professors superpowers. That was our pitch, because these professors already are great. They have good knowledge. They have all kinds of materials and knowledge required to teach students. It's just that they cannot do it in a personalized manner at scale. And that's the pitch and the story that we were trying to tell these professors, which was getting them convinced.
That's amazing. And I want to take a step back for a second, just because this was over a period of time. This obviously didn't happen within a week. I think a lot of people are pretty impatient and they have an idea and they want to see immediate results. How many interviews did you do before you got the MVP? How long did it take to get the 3,500 users? Walk me through that timeline.
Let's think. I think for the first 1.5 months we were just talking to these users. I think we had easily over 200 customer interviews, both reaching out online, let's say on LinkedIn, and also going in person, like I said, to a college libraries, Washington Square Park. So it was easily over 250 interviews that we had to do to understand, okay, what are they building? And we would also have these interviews as we were building, new interviews, also with a few of our power users, people who were regularly using our platform. So we would have kind of these interviews regularly. And like I said, we almost ended up having 250 plus interviews. And we built our MVP. And our first MVP failed, by the way, because we did not properly take feedback. And that was such a crucial lesson for us. And especially for me, because it was my first time building a company, because I approached it more from an engineer's mindset. So as an engineer, I was like, I want to perfect everything. I want to launch all the features. Like if I thought when I was architecting the system, I was like, oh, there are 20 features that it needs, and I want to make sure that all 20 features are up there working. And then I realized that customers are not even asking for those features, because I was trying to go from this engineer's mindset, and I would say even ego, that okay, I'm gonna ship everything and this is what they want. But I realized they didn't care. They only just cared about a few things, and I ended up spending too much time building the MVP. So we spent way much more time building the MVP than we should have. So that was a big lesson for us. And then we changed our approach, where we would be like, all right, we're gonna just work in 1 or 2 week sprint. We ship something out, even if it's a bit scrappy, get feedback from them, is this something they wanted, or is this something they don't care about? And that's just improved our development cycle so much more, because then we were able to ship things that they actually wanted to use, and we would get meaningful feedback. And the answer to your question of how long it took us to grow to 3,500 users, I think it took us 4 months, and it was all organic. So it was through my LinkedIn, and through reaching out to friends and like, hey, please try this platform, please also share it with your friends. So I think it was very organic. We did not pay for ads. We were like, it doesn't make sense for us to invest in ads, pay for it now. If people don't even want it, we're just gonna waste money on ads. So, and if the product is good, it will just grow organically. So it was just organic, building in public. That's why I'm such an advocate for building in public, because people see your entire journey. People see also how you progress, and people connect with you when you're building in public. Because especially at such an early stage, they're buying you, the person. You are the brand, more than the product itself. So yeah, that was about the journey of growing to those users.
I love that. I think there's something so powerful about, as you said, building in public. A lot of us want to be in our little echo chamber. We want to be in our vacuum, and we want to get it right the first time. I'll raise my hand. Like, that's me.
Yeah.
I've worked on my own. I vibe coded my own apps, and
Yeah.
I've tried to do all these different things. And a lot of times what I've realized just by having these great conversations with people like you was that I'm missing so much, or I'm wasting so much time in doing that. Right. Because the best thing you can do is just let the world know what you do know, let them know what you're building, and let them fill in the blanks for you. Let them
Exactly.
let them save you the time you would
Yeah.
dedicate, or the money you would dedicate to something, because you're honestly wasting it if you're
Yeah.
not letting the world tell you, right?
Exactly. That's so true, because you you get just so much different perspective, because when you're trying to build something in a particular industry, your focus and your vision is so narrowed that you sometimes miss the obvious things that are out there, because you're just so narrowed down and focusing on that one thing. And then when you like talk to people, or customers, and they're trying to use your product, they tell you some obvious things which you miss, and you're like, oh shit, I didn't think of that. And so that perspective is so helpful, and that saves so much time, because you could have wasted your next 2 months on that one silly thing, and just talking to a few people made you realize, oh, I was going down a completely wrong direction. So I totally agree.
So you and your co-founder, you're building momentum. I mean, to have 3,500 beta users for a product, I think is pretty awesome, right? It's pretty exciting. You definitely see some traction there. Now you have some professors reaching out to you saying, hey, can we maybe work with you on this? So you're starting to do all the things that would, for most people, say are leading to a successful product. What was the moment that you felt like things were either going to take off like a rocket ship, but didn't maybe get you to where you thought it was? Or better question, was there a moment where you felt like it was all going to fall apart?
Every day. I mean, uh, no, I think, when was it? I think it was mid pivot, right? When we were, uh, like we had already spent like a lot of months building the B2C product, and we saw the growth, but then also saw that that growth is actually also not taking us anywhere really. Like, oh, is this the end of it? And what do we do? So we were stuck in this space where we had a product which people liked, but then it was not generating revenue. And I think that was the moment that was like the worst, and we were thinking, okay, what do we do now? And when those professors reached out, and then we were pivoting, or we were planning to pivot, that was again very tricky, because we were like, we believed in this mission, and sometimes you just fall in love with what you're doing right now, or what you've done up until now, that you become very stubborn and you really don't want to pivot. But then we started having this honest conversation, and we were like, all right, listen, we've been getting these signals, and I know it's hard time and it's going to be uncertain for the next few months again because we're planning to pivot. And but we were like, let's do it. What's the worst gonna happen? So I think that was the time we were like, uh, I just didn't know what to do. So I think that was the time when, because when you've seen some growth and then you see that nothing is happening after it, when you've reached that stale period, that was such a frustrating part. But I think that pivot was needed, and we had to just get rid of our stubbornness and just accept the fact and move on and do the pivot.
And that's really tough, right? For one's
Yeah,
ego, it's tough
yeah,
to accept or admit that what you're doing isn't going to get you to where you need to be next.
yeah.
Did you, was it you that brought it to your co-founder and said it? Was it him? Was it you collectively that just had the hard conversation and decided, okay, we got to make a change? Or what really pushed you through it to make that next
hmm
step? And how did you get there?
I think I brought it up first, after I had this conversation with a friend of mine, and when he gave me a new perspective of, listen, what you're doing is great, but the real problems and also the money is with the professors and the universities, because they're doing it at scale or trying to do it at scale, and they have the students, they have the distribution, so you'll have to do it for them. And I remember I was at this chai spot in West Village with a friend of mine, and he was telling me all this, and my ego was definitely getting hurt. Like on the outside, I was smiling, and I was like, "Yeah, that makes sense," but on the inside, my ego was getting hurt. But then when I went home, and I was like, "All right, what he said was a much needed truth," and then I think a few days later, when I met my co-founder, I was like, "Hey, listen, this is an insight or perspective I had. What do you think?" He's like, "No, I don't know. I still believe in what we're doing." So for me, then it took some time to also convince my co-founder, because he was also not ready at first, which is totally understandable. And then after a few conversations with like different people, we realized collectively that it's a shift we have to make. People, we see the signals out there. We see that there's this another customer segment that's asking for it. So it just makes sense. Yes, our pride and ego is gonna hurt a bit, but let's keep that aside and let's make that pivot.
So you make the pivot, right? Put the ego aside and you move forward. What
Mhm.
happens next?
Ooh. Next, we were like, we thought, okay, we have to kind of unlearn what we learned, right? Because if you're gonna keep the same notion and bias of what we built till now, or what we've done, that's still going to impact what we're doing in the future, or what we're doing through the spirit. So we thought, there were certain things which we did, which we know didn't work, and if you're going to go with that same mindset to building this new product, this new thing that the customers want, then it's not going to help us. We're going to fail again. So we we thought to ourselves, and we said to ourselves, like, listen, we're going to go with this from a fresh new perspective. We are going to start this right from scratch. So I remember, like, I created an entire new repository, built everything from scratch, and had to take it from ground up, because but that really helped us though, because we did learn a lot of things from our experience of building the B2C vertical, and we also saw the amount of mistakes we made, so we made sure that don't make those mistakes again. So before we even started shipping, we were like, we had these conversations with these professors, so it was like again starting a new company, honestly, pivoting. So we were again doing this customer discovery interviews, trying to understand their pain points, making sure we don't make the same mistake of spending 2 freaking months to just build an MVP. So we had these conversations, shipped something really fast. We got like a first impression of some of these professors we were working with. They started liking it. They're like, hey, it's taking a good shape. I remember, I think this was early 2025. Yes, this was Jan of 2025 when we were doing all this. And when we saw this kind of like first positive signals from those professors, then we were like, okay, let's now continue in this direction. And so I think that was the biggest part. Kind of unlearn or get rid of the bias or the notion that you had up until that point, and just take this as a fresh start. So it was honestly like starting a new company, not kidding.
Yeah, I can imagine. I
Yeah.
mean, Like starting from knowing that you have to start from the beginning, right? It's like you were just it's like you've been training and you've been putting in all the miles just for someone to tell you, "Oh yeah, by the way, it was that way." Right? It
Yeah,
was that way the whole
yeah,
time. Like
yeah,
remember that like intersection you were both
yeah,
we were all looking at? Like yeah, you went the other way around,
yeah.
right?
Now you have to
You
come
you
back.
went the wrong way.
Yeah,
So, but you circle back around, ego aside, you learn what you have to learn. And as you mentioned, you set yourself up now for it to be a B2B rather than a B2C,
yeah,
right? So now that you're working with the professors, the one thing that I feel like we maybe missed so far is show me the money, right? It's like we have the product, you're talking with the professors, but it seems like the money was maybe the one piece that we were missing in this puzzle. So
yeah.
how did you and your co-founder start thinking about introducing, the monetary aspect? How did you start having those conversations with professors? Did you start thinking about reaching out to your family or venture? What was that conversation?
Right. So when it comes to fundraising, since we were so pretty lean, we were kind of bootstrapping, I would say. We did raise some funding from NYU. So remember, I said the accelerator program that we joined. So that accelerator program provided with some grant funding. So that helped build the product out. We hired a few interns. So that money was really helping us like keep sustaining and keep building the company. And while we were still in college, right? My co-founder had just graduated and he was a PhD resident, and then I was still in college. So I was in my second year when I was like done with the accelerator program, building the company. So that grant funding helped, move things forward and keep things running with the company. And like I said, after the pivot, we started piloting with a few universities. So that traction helped go for fundraising. So we then started talking to a few investors who showed some interest. And mind you, edtech is a very tough industry to build in because VCs hate edtech. Like if there's one industry I think you can take that VCs hate is edtech. I don't think there's any other industry that gets no's or as many no's as edtech.
Why? Why is that?
Because historically it hasn't given them the VC level returns that VCs look for. Like there are only one or two companies in the history of IPOs or edtech companies that have IPO'd out of all so many companies and in the world. I think one is I forgot the parent company's name, but it's the same company that built the LMS tool Blackboard and Canvas. So one is that, and another I don't even remember the name. So uh, it was a hot space back in the 90s because internet was becoming a thing. So VCs put in a lot of money in this space, in the education space, but it just never gave them the return because these VCs, they're looking for that 100x return. And education companies and the kind of industries and the kind of customers they deal with is just very hard. Like only one or two winners can come out. So because of this historical data and experiences, VCs kind of shy away from this industry, and very understandable. If you ask me, will I go back to the education industry very soon? No, I don't think so. As much as I love the industry and I feel like it's very impactful and mission driven and it's needed for humanity. As an investor, like if I'm an investor, I totally understand why they're saying no to an education company.
So when you're in the trenches, right? You just got your funding from NYU, which by the way, how much was that? How much did they give you through that competition?
Oh, that was a grant funding. So it was $15,000. So that was good enough for us to just build the product out, hire a few interns, and keep running the company. So that was for no equity. So that was a good thing as part of the accelerator. Like your traditional accelerators put money and take equity in. This was more grant funding. So we didn't lose any chunk of the company, and we were able to run it.
And then you mentioned that you get the funding, $15,000. Now you have a runway. Now we have some interns. Now we're starting to build up the staff. And now we have some new relationships with some other universities outside of NYU. What other universities were getting involved?
So we had a university from Israel because my co-founder is from there, so he was able to, talk to a professor and work there. And then we were talking to Pace University, which is right by Brooklyn Bridge. So these are the three universities we were having conversations with. This was spring of 2025. Things were going great around March, where we had these conversations going. They're kind of actively using the tool, testing it out. and we were trying to see, okay, let's close some of these clients. But things didn't fall in place because Pace University, they loved us, they wanted us, but they were in a financial crisis, so they couldn't afford us in their budget. And the university in Israel and NYU, as the semester ended, and this is one annoying thing with universities is once the semester kind of ends, it's hard to keep in touch and have them use a product and have those conversations going. So once the semester ended in around end of April, early May, we kind of just lost track with them. They would kind of just stop responding because hey, we're in holidays right now, summer. Those
Yeah, they're at the
pilots.
beach, Somya. They don't
Yeah.
want to hear about your EdTech app.
Yeah. Yeah, they're in south of France having fun. No. But yeah, so that's what happened like spring. So we kind of again had this tough moment, and so my co-founder and I, we were like, all right, what do we do now? These pilots which we had, which had a lot of promise, kind of like are have almost fallen apart. So we were like, all right, let's keep trying because it's a really good product. People like this product, and the industry needs it. And so we just kept building, and funny things happened in June. So an education-based company in California come to us, and they were like, hey, listen, we love the product that you're building. We've been in the space for the last 13 years. We have a lot of customer relationships with universities and companies, and we also have a lot of investor relationships. So we should join forces and just build this together. So you wouldn't believe me, but July 17, 2024, I remember this day, was when we incorporated Context as a Delaware C Corp. July 17, 2025, we incorporated the new joint venture with this California-based company exactly 1 year later. And the whole, like, the mission was, we bring our product, which we're already building at Context, and these people bring the distribution. And things were going great. So July and August, we were piloting with some of their existing customers, and those pilots were going great. And our plan was to raise $2 million in fall, of which $500,000 was to come from their existing investors. So believe me or not, like end of August, I was flying high because I thought, after 1 year, finally I have so much traction. We have these existing customers we are talking to. We have kind of a soft commit from investors. But funny things happened in September. I still remember, I think it was September first week or second week, this California-based company come to us and they're like, hey, sorry guys, we've fallen into a legal mess of our own, so we have to back off from this partnership. So everything that I thought was going to happen, those
Oh,
customers,
no.
those investors, went away in like 20 seconds of that call. So September, we are back to square one. We were like, holy shit, what just happened? What was
Mm.
this? So that's why towards the end of September, my co-founder and I still remember we were in Brooklyn Heights. That's where he used to live back then. We were having this conversation at this Georgian restaurant. We were like, we've put in all this effort and we've done all these great things. But he had to move to Canada because his wife got a job at University of Waterloo as a professor. And so since he was moving away and things were also like not working out, we were like we could keep working on it, but I think it's time to just close shop and look for something else and go our own way and try our own thing. So end of September we decided we will close Context, and that's what we did. So yeah, crazy things happened in those last 3 4 months of the company, man. I still can't believe those happened, but it did.
And this was your baby. I mean,
Yeah,
to see it grow and
yeah.
to go through the ups and downs with it just to
Yeah.
close the door. I mean,
I
how hard was that? Was it like to finally put a nail in the coffin? Like how
ah, that I think was I think that was the lowest point in my life. I'm not even kidding. This September, I remember I would go to the pier on Tribeca every day because that was my comfort spot. So I would just go every day, look at the sunset, and I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do next? What am I doing with my life? What am I gonna do next? Because you know the thing about building a startup is it kind of becomes your identity. It became for me my identity. Everyone knew me as the guy, oh, that NYU kid building this company, or the context guy. So that kind of became my identity, and that was taken away in like no time. And I was like, what do I do? Who am I? What do I do next? I failed. And when it happened, I think nobody knew about it. No one, except for like one or two friends, nobody knew about it, and nobody knew about all the struggles I was going through or the identity crisis that I was going through. But then I realized that then I remember I think I was sitting in the Brooklyn Promenade, and then I was thinking to myself, listen, 2 years ago, the kind of person I was, and versus what I am now, is just totally different. And that happened because I took these risks. And it's fine, I failed, but the person 2 years prior would be so proud of the person that I am today. And I thought, you know, I can either keep, just crying about it, my situation that, oh, my company failed, what do I do next? Or just accept it and move on. And I'm sure there are better things lined up for me. And I just have to accept the fact and look for better things, and I'm sure something will come along. And I remember then I started telling people. I also posted about it on LinkedIn. The amount of times I overthought before posting about it on LinkedIn. I remember it was October when I was posting about it. I was like, should I post it? Should I not? No, I don't want to post. I don't want the world to know that the guy who was building this company and he's gonna change the world of education failed. But I was like, keep your ego aside. It's fine. Just post it. What's the worst gonna happen? People are just gonna laugh at it. I don't care. But it's the best thing I did. So many people reached out to me, and that's when I realized how grateful I am for the founder community here in New York. Because I remember so many people called me up or messaged me, and they said, "Dude, are you okay? What's up? What happened?" And we're proud of you. And I was like, "Wow, this is the best thing that happened. My company closing was the best thing that happened because I started looking at life and business and startups from a completely new lens. I realized that next time, if I'm building something, I don't have to build an AI B2B company. It could be anything. I could freaking open a lemonade stand. I don't care because businesses are it's about doing something that you love and doing something about what people want. And I think that was the best thing that happened that my company failed was then I started looking at the world from a different lens. Had so many learnings, met so many great people, and just had this fresh new perspective, and I was able to think more clearly, and I started making better decisions. I'll be very honest. And 5 months down the line, now I feel I'm so much at a better place. I joined another startup where I work as my day job, and at the same time, I've continued throwing my events, which I started doing last year, and these events are becoming bigger than ever. And this mission that I have, make New York the biggest startup ecosystem in the world, that kind of happened after my company closed. So if anything, that was the best thing that happened in my life.
Super inspiring. And I think it's amazing that you pulled yourself up by your bootstraps and you decided, hey, I could let this, once again, it goes back to everything we said in the beginning. I can let this define me. I can put my head down. I can whine about how it's not fair and it's
Yeah,
not right. And it wasn't meant to be.
yeah,
And you could just sulk for the rest of your life, right?
yeah,
That's option one. Option two is take all of that and use it, right? It's energy, man. It's knowledge. It's a resource. And the fact that you can look at that experience so positively now, it's only going to help you with whatever you want to do next. And I think that that's the power of thinking like a founder. It's that you really shouldn't let anything get you down for too long, right?
exactly.
You need to build resilience just by trying and failing and trying again. And I think that the one thing that's happened for a lot of students and a lot of young people is we grew up in this environment, whether you were in India, whether you were in the United States, where you always had to pass. I need an A plus 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 on my report card. There can't be an F. And you think back to that professor or teacher when you'd fail and you'd be complaining and they're like, well, life's not fair, right? And like that wasn't the response that maybe you were looking for. And I think
Yeah,
that people carry that into their adulthood, which is, oh, life's just not fair and I failed. When in reality it should be, I failed and now what?
yeah. What's next?
What's next? And you've
Exactly.
already done so much. Like you said,
Yeah.
you've started working for another company. Not to say that you're not going to go open up your own again, maybe not in ed tech, right?
Oh yeah, not in tech.
But you stay hungry. You're keeping
Yeah,
yourself active. And I think that's something too, which is, look, you don't necessarily have to be a founder in your day job, at least right now, to be building and connecting yourself with people who are building and doing things, just so that you can keep a finger on the pulse, you can continue to learn, And most importantly, you can get inspired again because, as you mentioned, you weren't the person, you weren't the co founder that originally came up with context. And that is completely okay, right? And that is completely okay. You don't necessarily have to be the person who comes up with the idea, but you can get inspired by somebody else and what they're doing and maybe create your own version of it, maybe join them in their journey,
Yeah.
right? And so what ultimately led you to want to create this founder ecosystem?
Huh. Good question. Like I said, so when I was building context is when I kind of got really involved in the startup ecosystem here. And I started realizing that, hey, the startup ecosystem here is actually so great. It's the second biggest startup ecosystem in the world. And I thought, wait, why isn't it number one? Like, you have all the industries here. It is the number one in like finance, fashion, and all these other industries. What's going on with tech here? Something is not right. It seems to have the ingredients, but it is not number one. This little place called San Francisco is number one. I'm like, all right, something's wrong, and that's when I started getting deeply involved and started looking around. Okay, what are the problems with the space? And I realized that one of the biggest key missing pieces is community. Right, the community here is very fragmented. People like kind of all over the place, and has it gotten better? Yes, over the last 3 5 years, it definitely has. But I feel like there's so much room to improve. I just started throwing events just for fun, honestly. I was like, because I saw so many events happening. I thought most of the events were kind of shit that were happening in New York. So I thought I could throw better founder events. And so I just started for fun, no intention of making money, no intention of making a business out of it. And honestly, back then I was building my own company. I was my full focus was there. So this was just on the fun. Took it like a hobby, I'm just gonna bring people together. I want to bring smart young people together and grow the community here. So started for fun, ended up liking it so much that I threw 75 events in the last 1 year, ranging from your pitch events, mixers at a bar, dinners, breakfasts, hackathons. You name any event, I've thrown it. I've even done a pizza crawl in West Village, so I've kind of done it all. But over the last 2 to 3 months, especially when I closed my company, I started asking myself, all right, now that I've closed my company, I've been doing these events, which have been doing great, but I feel I could do more. And but I need focus because I've been just going all around doing it for fun. But if I want to make an impact, I have to do something that the city lacks and that the city needs. And I saw that the tech ecosystem is not really great. Like the startup ecosystem here is not very, tech hacker. The hacker culture is not there. And also I realized that the college ecosystem here is not very entrepreneurial. Like it is the biggest college ecosystem in the United States. I was surprised to learn that. Just I learned this like only 2 months ago. Nobody's building companies. I went to NYU, so I saw that 95% of the kids were just going to classes, applying for jobs, trying to get into consulting, investment banking, engineering, which is fine. Hey, of course, you got loans to pay, but college is the best time to build companies. And if you're not utilizing this time, you have this great talent density and network and support system to build a company. Then when are you gonna do it? And I feel New York lacks that, and because of that, we lose so much talent and potential is left on the table. And I thought, okay, what can I do to solve this problem? And so 2 months or 3 months ago, I shifted my focus to throwing just hackathons because I thought hackathons are the best way to bring young people together to build and hack something together and potentially not just build a product or a side project, but build companies. And that's when I realized this is the best thing I can do. So I shifted my focus. I've already ended up throwing like 4 to 5 hackathons, and then I realized, this is what I want to keep doing because it's helping the founder ecosystem so much more, making so much impact, and I want to make New York the biggest startup ecosystem in the world. And I think a lot of this comes because I just love the city, man. It feels I call it home. I just moved here 2.5 years ago, but this feels more like home than back in India. Like no disrespect, but I just love my life here, and this city has given me so much. My life completely changed upside down after moving here, and I've changed so much personally and professionally. And it's also a way for me, and this love and passion for the city is also why I want to do this and help New York in a way where it kind of lacks. Like I feel the tech scene here is something that needs a lot of improvement, and I feel that if we do the right things, we can do that. And I kind of want to be at the face of it. So that's why I've been doing this and trying to grow the founder ecosystem here, and I try to help founders in every way I can. I I'm decently connected in the startup scene here, so I try to connect founders with the right investors or founders with other founders and just help the community here because the good old saying, it takes a village. So we just gotta help the founder community here, and you do the right things. And I feel 10 years down the line, it can be the biggest startup ecosystem in the world.
I hear your passion. I guess, I have my own opinion as to why it's important for people I have my own opinion about why there should be a big founder community, but why are you so passionate about people pursuing the life of a founder or an entrepreneur rather than necessarily just going the traditional route of getting the consulting job or investment banking or something like that, something that their parents probably told them is the safe bet.
It's an interesting question. I feel you there's just this beauty of just building something of your own that impacts the world in a way, and could be anything. It could be a physical product, it could be in the CPG space, it could be building a software, but the whole point is you building something that impacts people in a positive way and impacts millions of people in a positive way. There's just this whole different feeling about it, which you cannot get by working elsewhere. And y- you know people say a lot of the reasons you should do business is because for the money, or you become your own boss. I feel those are kind of your byproduct, but that shouldn't be the main goal. Like, the money shouldn't be the main goal, but this what's your purpose? The purpose of fulfilling a mission. And the moment you find that, it's just your life is so much better. I feel you start meeting great people, and you just become a whole different person. And for me, the moment I started building my company, it's been what, 1.5 years since I started doing that. Like, I've just grown so much in this short 1.5 years span of time versus like my first literal 24 years of my life. Like, that's how meaningful it has been. That's how it's been such a great learning experience. And you just end up also meeting so many great people, because the moment you do something of value to society, you start attracting people towards you. uh, and that's a whole different feeling. So I feel like everyone should just give a shot at trying to build something of their own, trying to start something of their own. And it could be as simple as selling or opening a lemonade stand or a halal cart. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just doing something different, doing something or providing a service that people want. And you might end up finding your purpose along your way, and you'll start enjoying it. Is it going to be easy? Of course not. It is not easy. Whether it comes to like starting my own company or doing what I'm doing right now, it is hard. And I sometimes feel like, am I ever going to make it? What am I doing all this for? I get those kind of existential crisis thoughts sometimes, but then I'm like, yeah, if I do the right things and trust the process, things will eventually work out.
In a world that's so isolated, I can't agree with you more. Like, we're in a time right now where you look at the numbers around young people and how often they spend time with their friends, or think about the dating scene, right? And everyone feels so isolated. And
Yeah,
yet, the reason I think being vocal about building something is so important is because it's a bright, shimmering light of hope, and
yeah,
it draws everybody in because everybody
yeah,
wants to be inspired. Everyone wants to see someone succeed. And to your point, I think if you just try and be okay with being vulnerable and you put yourself out there, you're gonna be finding an unbelievable amount of friends,
yeah,
and you're gonna find that the community that you surround yourself with is probably the best community to be a part of. Like, I've seen it
exactly.
for myself, man. I mean, LinkedIn, I think, is doing such a great job of fostering that. You've probably seen it for yourself.
I agree. No, totally. And one thing I realized is, when you do something different, when you're, trying to do something good, something crazy, people want you to win. You don't realize, but there's just so many supporters out there. And after moving to the city and trying to build something of my own, the amount of well-wishers and people and friends whom I met and seen, who want me to succeed, that just sometimes keeps me going, man. And I feel like we sometimes in this modern world, with all social media and all this negativity out there, we have a very negative outlook on the world. We say, oh, we're in the worst times ever, things are just getting bad. I feel no, it isn't. Yes, there are 101 different problems happening in the world out there, but the moment you start creating impact in a positive way, you'll also learn like how beautiful the world is, how great people are out there. And there's just so much love out there, but you gotta give first, because unless you don't give first, you're not gonna get. So that's so important, and you kind of get that mindset shift when you start doing things of value and you start helping people out. Your mental health becomes so much better. Like I think I'm at my best mental health than I've ever been, just because I've been trying to do something, I've been trying to build, been trying to meet people, help them out, and it's very rewarding.
Now, you kind of said it today, but just to close us up here, I wanted to quote you, or at least quote you on something I think you've said. So you've told some aspiring founders this: just get started. Action leads to motivation, not the other way around. So for someone sitting on an idea right now, what's the very first move they should make?
Just ship it. Just ship it. If you built it, just ship it. If you've not built it, go talk to people. Just do it, man. That's why I love it. The Nike's tagline, "Just do it." That's so true, man. Just do it, because even I made that mistake. No, I thought that I cannot start a company. I'm not capable of entrepreneurship. And then when I started thinking that I could do that, then I started giving myself excuses that oh, I'm on a visa. I cannot do that. I'm an international student. The law won't allow me. Then I thought to myself, oh, okay, I'm just giving myself excuses. Like, I have to just get started. It's fine. Let me take the leap of faith. I'll figure it out. So just just jump from the cliff, man. It's fine. You'll figure it out. You'll learn how to open the parachute. You'll learn how to land. But just get started. You're gonna make a shit ton of mistakes, but you'll learn along the way. You'll also meet so many great people along the way who'll help you unconditionally, and you'll hopefully one day, good things take time, but reach the destination or reach the place you wanted to.
Amazing. Well,
Yeah.
Somya Gupta, co-founder of Context, the man is taking on NYC to make it the hub for founders. I loved this conversation, man. I think that your perspective, even if Context didn't necessarily get to where you want it to be, I think the story of the trenches is super powerful. I think that people need to understand that there is no failure in any of this, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've gained so much. Like you said, the Samya that you knew 2 years ago would be so proud of the Samya you are today, and
Yeah.
you're none the richer. But I would argue that you're rich with the skills and the perspective and the connections, and in a lot of ways, you're unbelievably wealthy in that case.
Yeah. Exactly. I totally agree.
So Samya, where can people find you? Where do you like to post? Where can they find Samya building the next big thing?
LinkedIn. That's been my only social media. I'm trying to come on Instagram. If I ever come, I'll let you know. But right now on LinkedIn, you search by my name, Somya Gupta, and you'll find me there.
Awesome. Well, Samya
Yeah.
Gupta, thank you for your time, sir.